Hi everyone, I'll be making artisan bread. What all goes into the artisan bread? 3½ cups bread flour, plus more if needed. 2¼ teaspoons of rapid rise instant yeast. 1 tablespoon granulated sugar. This is optional. 1½ teaspoons of salt. And 1½ cups of warm water. If it's too cold, the yeast won't activate. If it's too hot, it will ruin the yeast. So try to have the temperature around 117 degrees. So let's begin. So take a large mixing bowl, dump in your 3½ cups of flour, your 1½ teaspoons of salt, your 1 tablespoon sugar if you're using, your 2½ teaspoons of instant yeast, which is the size of one of these packets. I have never made anything with yeast before, so I'm just kind of excited and nervous. And then whisk that all together. Okay, now I'm going to get my water warm. I have my little infrared thermometer gun here to see how hot the water is. 122, so I'll let it cool for just a little bit. 118, I'm going to call that good. By the time I get it all in here, it should be fine. So I'm going to slowly add it in. This will activate the yeast. It's starting to foam, which is good. And then the dough will be sticky, but you want to mix it until there's no dry flour left. Now, let me explain a little bit about the 1 day or the 2 day method. The 1 day, you put this you cover it up, put it in a warm area, let it rise for a couple of hours. It should double in size. The 2 day way is you mix it all up, cover it, put it in the refrigerator. You don't have to let it rise to begin with, and then leave it in the refrigerator covered overnight. And then the next day, it'll have risen, and then you can continue on like you would with the 1 day one. And I figure I really don't have a warm place in my house right now, so I'm going to just do the 2 day one. Plus, I think it's going to be easier for me. All right, so it is mixed, hopefully good enough. And you want to wrap it with plastic wrap. Then after you wrap it up, we'll put it in the refrigerator and let it sit overnight. So I will see you tomorrow. So I've never made bread before. The dough sat overnight. It raised. I don't know if it raised enough or not. I don't know how much flour I need to put down, but you want to have a floured surface. Have your flour available because you're going to need it. I'm going to get my hands floured too because it's really sticky, and scrape your dough onto the flour. If all else fails, use your hands. All right, so what you need to do is just shape this into a ball. Kind of like that. So we have 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Take your 12 o'clock and stretch it to the 6 o'clock. Then take your 9 o'clock and stretch it to the 3 o'clock. Then take your 6 o'clock and stretch it to the 12 o'clock. And then take your 3 o'clock and stretch it to the 9 o'clock. It's a stretch and fold method. And then you want to make it into a ball again, like so. This is actually easier than I was anticipating. Take a large piece of parchment paper. Set your dough in the center of that. Okay, then we're going to cover the dough with plastic wrap. So put your empty Dutch oven in the oven on the center rack with the lid on at 450 degrees for 30 minutes. After the 30 minutes, carefully remove the Dutch oven from the oven. Take a knife and score the top of your bread. And carefully place your parchment paper in the Dutch oven. Put your lid on. Put your Dutch oven in the preheated 450 degree oven for 30 minutes. After the 30 minutes, take the lid off. That's looking pretty darn good. We'll put it back in the oven for 10 minutes without the lid. Well, after 10 minutes, I took it out. It looks done, but it says to try to stick an instant read thermometer in there and see if it is 195 to 200 degrees. And it is definitely done. We'll let it sit in the Dutch oven for 10 minutes. Then we'll lift it out of the Dutch oven with the parchment paper and put it on a cooling rack to finish cooling. But I'm not going to taste test this for you because I am going to be using this for a Halloween video. I will show you what it looks like after it's out of the Dutch oven. So here is the artisan bread. It is nice and round like I wanted it to. Got a nice brown on the bottom. It will be, of course, a crusty bread. And again, I'll be using it in a future video. And then you'll get to see what we use it for. See you then. Recipe deals for easy meals. Please like, subscribe, and share. This is Cooking with Sherry. Until we meet again.